Hours later, Uchenna returned home early, hoping to surprise his wife. However, he never expected that he would be the one surprised. The moment he stepped into the compound, he heard commotion. "Nkechi, come back! Don't leave me! Come, let me love you!" He froze. That was Mma's voice. He dropped his briefcase and rushed inside the house, only to find a scene that nearly stopped his heart. Mma, his gentle, calm and reasonable wife, was running after her stepsister like a woman who was now possessed. "Nkechi, don't run away from me! You are my heart, my life, my sweet love!" Mma shouted as she reached for her. Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Enugu, lived a man whose name was Uchenna, a man whose heart was sweeter than honey. If you saw the way Uchenna adored his wife Mma, your heart would melt like butter on a pan. He loved her loudly, proudly and without any limit. Their marriage was the kind that many envied, as people never believed that a man like Uchenna still existed in the world. A man who once drove from Enugu to Lagos just because she sprained her ankle whilst rushing for a meeting she had in Lagos. Uchenna loved his wife with everything that he had. He washed her feet every night before she slept and even ironed her clothes for work the next morning. Mma was the luckiest woman alive. She knew it. Her family knew it. Even neighbors knew that she was the woman covered in pure and overflowing love. Mma did not take Uchenna's devotion for granted. She prayed for him every morning, asking God to protect and bless the works of his hands. Their home was so peaceful, warm and full of laughter. The gentle moments that made marriage look like a soft place to land. But in the same home lived someone who could not stand their love. Her name was Nkechi, Mma's stepsister, who had come to stay with them for a few months after losing her job. However, 3 months stretched into 6, and 6 stretched into a year, and with each passing day, the bitterness in her heart grew deeper than roots. Many advised Mma to send her away. They could not understand why Mma allowed her stepsister to live with her, despite knowing how bitter and jealous she was of her. One day, Mma's friend came to visit her. Amara was the kind of woman who noticed everything, even things that were not her business to begin with. Her eyes always scanned people like an X-ray machine, as nothing ever escaped her. That evening, she hugged Mma warmly and complimented her glowing skin. However, her gaze lingered towards the corridor of the house as if she had just seen something. They stood there for a few minutes as Mma rushed off to go bring drinks from the kitchen. Amara in that moment excused herself to go use the restroom. But instead of turning right, she turned left, and that was when she saw it. Nkechi standing near Mma's bedroom door, holding a small weird item in her hand. Nkechi jumped up in terror when she saw Amara. "Ah, Auntie Amara, welcome! I was just cleaning." She hid the item and forced a smile as Amara stared at her for a few seconds, 3 long seconds that said more than just words. However, Amara said nothing. She simply walked away and returned to the living room, where she put Mma aside and began to speak. "Mma," she whispered, "send this girl away now. Today, not tomorrow." Mma laughed. "Amara, please now. Nkechi is harmless. I saw her holding a strange item outside your bedroom door. A harmless girl, you say? What do you think she was doing by your room door?" She asked Mma, who laughed and informed Amara that she sent Nkechi to go switch off the heater in her bedroom. Amara hissed because she knew what she saw. "You're too soft, Mma. I'm telling you, Nkechi is jealous of you, and I fear that one day she will do something to you that you will regret," Amara said to her friend Mma, who waved her off and smiled as she began to speak. "Amara, I know my stepsister. She may be bitter sometimes, but she won't harm me. She doesn't have it in her." Amara placed a hand on her wrist, trying to convince her that humans can be unpredictable at times, but Mma had her mind already made up. She didn't see Nkechi as a threat and decided to leave her in her home. Worried and restless, Amara decided to discuss her concerns with Mma's husband Uchenna. She believed Mma was too blind, too soft-hearted to see the danger that she herself insisted was crawling inside that house. So, the next morning, she paid Uchenna a visit at his office. Uchenna welcomed her politely, offered her a drink, and adjusted his chair as she sat across from him and began to speak. "Uchenna," she began. her voice trembling with urgency. "I don't like the things I'm seeing in your house." Uchenna frowned slightly and asked what she was talking about. "What things, if I may ask?" he asked Tamara, who continued to speak. "That your sister-in-law Nkechi, she's doing something. I don't know what exactly, but her actions are suspicious. I caught her yesterday holding something strange outside your bedroom door." Uchenna sat up straighter, his eyes wide in shock. "What was she holding?" he asked Tamara, who leaned forward and continued to speak. "I won't lie you, Uchenna, it looked like a charm. Small, round, like something fetish and evil." Uchenna shook his head firmly. "No now, Nkechi may be troublesome sometimes, but she can never do fetish things." Uchenna," Amara cut in sharply. "You of all people is saying this? Don't you read stories? Don't you watch the news? People who smile with you in the morning can harm you at night too." She lowered her voice dramatically as she continued to speak. "Uchenna, please open your eyes. Nkechi is jealous of Uma. She has overstayed in that house, and envy can push people into things you cannot imagine." She placed her hand on her chest dramatically as she said her final words. "Please, just watch her closely before something happens that you will regret." Uchenna sighed deeply as he promised not to allow any evil befall his wife. Amara, knowing how deeply he loved her friend Uma, thanked him as she left his office, leaving Uchenna deep in his own thoughts. Hours later, Uchenna returned home early, hoping to surprise his wife. However, he never expected that he would be the one surprised. The moment he stepped into the compound, he heard commotion. "Nkechi, come back! Don't leave me! Come, let me love you!" He froze. That was Uma's voice. He dropped his briefcase and rushed inside the house, only to find a scene that nearly stopped his heart. Uma, his gentle, calm and reasonable wife, was running after her stepsister like a woman who was now possessed. "Nkechi, don't run away from me! You are my heart, my life, my sweet love!" Uma shouted as she reached for her. Nkechi, sweating and terrified, ran barefoot across the living room, knocking over a center table in the process. "Sister Ma, please leave me alone! Please, you can't love me!" she cried, dodging behind the dining chair. But Uma lunged at her again. "I just want to love you. Why are you afraid of my love? Don't you love me too? Say it, my love." Uchenna felt cold spread through his bones as he shouted his wife's name, asking what she was doing, but Uma looked him in the eyes and pleaded for him to beg Nkechi to love her back. It was in that moment that Uchenna realized that his wife was under a spell. Everything Amara said to him that afternoon in the office began to fall into place like a puzzle. His mouth went dry as his heart hammered in his chest. Uma lunged towards Nkechi again, crawling on her knees, begging, panting like a desperate woman as she begged Nkechi to love her back. "Nkechi, my love, please don't reject me. I can't breathe without you." Nkechi screamed and slid behind the chair as she pleaded for Ma to leave her alone. "Sister Ma, please stop. You are making me scared," she said as Uchenna rushed forward, grabbing his wife from behind. "Stop this nonsense, Ma," he shouted as his voice shook in frustration. But Uma fought violently in his arms, kicking her legs like a trapped child. "Let me go! She loves me! I love her too! We belong together!" She turned to Uchenna with tears in her eyes as she pleaded with him to beg Nkechi to love her back. "Beg her for me, Uche. Tell her to stay. Tell her not to abandon me," she said to Uchenna, whose heart broke in a way that he could not explain. He knew in that moment that Nkechi had done something evil that might have backfired. In fact, he remembered all the times that Nkechi made subtle advances at him, hoping that he falls in love with her. Uchenna could not contain his rage any longer, so he looked at Nkechi, whose face was now streaked with tears, as he asked her what she did to his wife. Nkechi opened her mouth in shock as she narrated how Ma jumped into the kitchen that evening and began to profess her love for her. Before she could finish explaining all that happened, Ma broke out of Uchenna's grip and ran towards her. "Nkechi, don't run! Let me love you! Let me worship you! Please, don't leave me!" The whole house was now in a commotion, with Uma screaming, Nkechi crying, and Uchenna desperately holding his wife down as she fought like a woman whose soul had been tied to madness. Neighbors gathered as everyone wondered what the problem could be. Uchenna's voice shook with fury as he dragged Uma away again. "Uma, stop this now! You're scaring me! Stop it!" But Uma only shrieked louder. "You don't understand! Uche, Nkechi is my heart, my missing rib. I love her. I love her. Nkechi fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't do anything. I swear. God knows. I didn't touch anything. But everyone knew her better. They knew how jealous she was of Uma and all the little ways she used to compete with her. It was clear as day that Nkechi had used juju on her sister. However, what they could not understand was why she would use juju to make Uma fall in love with her. The only explanation that seemed practical was that Uma had stumbled upon a love charm that was not meant for her. In fact, people began whispering that Nkechi must have set up a charm meant for Uchenna, hoping he would fall madly in love with her. But somehow, the charm caught her sister instead. The rumor spread like wildfire as all fingers pointed at her. Yes, that must be what happened. Nkechi wanted her sister to down Uchenna and did a charm to get him, but the thing backfired in a way that she never expected. Now, see how Uma is chasing her like a mad woman, saying that she's in love with her. Who does that? They said as they shook their heads in pity and disgust. The entire neighborhood gathered like spectators at a village wrestling match, murmuring, judging and whispering. Nkechi covered her ears as she cried, but Uchenna was not having it. He gave her an ultimatum to undo what she had done before the next morning, or else the police would get involved. But Nkechi, before they woke up the next morning, ran away with all of her belongings. She snuck out of the house at night, leaving Uchenna alone with his wife, who was now obsessed with her own sister. Uchenna was so clueless on what to do. Everything he tried to make his wife love him again failed, as all she did was cry and plead with him to bring back the love of her life in Nkechi. Uma refused food, she refused water and could not even sleep. All she did was wail and plead for Uchenna to bring back the love of her life. Uche, please bring my Nkechi back. I will die without her. I can't breathe without her. Please, my love, she said repeatedly as her voice echoed through the house. That night was the longest night for Uchenna, who did not know what to do. He tried calling her friend severally, but Amara's number was not reachable. He watched in pain as his wife screamed until her voice broke. She clawed at the door, shouting Nkechi's name like someone who was calling a lost lover from the land of the dead. Uche, please, bring back my Nkechi. My heart is dying. I will die without her. Her cries were so desperate, so raw, that even the neighbors outside began to pray for her. Uchenna sat on the cold floor, his back against the locked door, as tears rolled down his cheeks. His world was collapsing around him, and he didn't know what to do. In frustration, he threw his phone at the sofa and buried his face in his hands as he prayed to God to save his wife. What do I do? God, what do I do? He cried as he watched his wife cry out all night. By the time morning arrived, Uma had fallen asleep on the floor. Uchenna was too terrified to wake her up. Uchenna's heart broke to see his wife like this. His gentle sunflower, his prayer warrior, his peace, now reduced to a shadow of herself. Just then, his phone buzzed as Amara called after receiving his numerous text messages the night before. Uchenna picked up the call with speed. Amara, help me. Uma is dying. Her voice came through, thick with fear. Uche, what happened? What are you talking about? What happened to Ma? Uchenna did not even breathe between his words. He narrated the whole story to her as Amara told him to calm down. I'm coming. Don't panic. Just stay with her. I'll be on my way, Amara said as she hung up the call. Within minutes, she arrived at the house with a pastor and went straight to the room where Uma was locked. Uma was still on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, rocking back and forth like a child who had lost her mother in a crowded market. Jesus, Amara whispered, covering her mouth as the pastor stepped forward. He didn't touch Uma at first. He simply stared at her, tilting his head slightly, listening to what she was saying. After a long moment of silence, he exhaled and began to speak. This woman is under a very strong manipulation. Whoever did this to her was targeting someone else, but she fell into a trap unintentionally. Uchenna burst into tears as the pastor confirmed that her sister Nkechi was the one responsible for everything that had happened. Pastor, please, help us. I don't recognize my wife anymore. She's disappearing before my eyes. The pastor opened his Bible as he poured anointing oil on his hand and began to pray. He placed his palm gently on her head as he began to pray for her. Just as the anointing oil touched her scalp, Mma's body convulsed. Her eyes flew open as she lunged at the pastor and beat him hard on his wrist. Her teeth sank into his skin as the pastor let out a terrifying scream and did everything possible to break free. "Leave me!" he shouted as he tried to pull away, but Mma held on. Her jaw locked like a wild animal as Uchenna and Amara froze in complete terror. The pastor finally broke free as he began to run out of the house in terror. Uchenna pleaded with the pastor to stay. "Pastor, please, don't leave us. Please help her." But the pastor shook his head abruptly as he told them to find another pastor. He ran out of the house, leaving Amara and Uchenna, who stood there stunned, breathless and shaking in complete fear as Uchenna collapsed to his knees beside her, his whole body shaking as he felt helpless. His tears poured as he whispered for Mma to come back to him, but Mma continued to call out for Nkechi. Amara stood there sad to see that her greatest fear had now become a reality. She bursted out into tears to see her friend in such a horrifying state. Amara spent hours trying to speak to her friend, but Mma was no longer herself. All she wanted was Nkechi, who was nowhere to be found. Days passed, and pastor after pastor came into their home, but ran out screaming. Uchenna was so exhausted. He missed his wife so much and prayed for her to regain her senses. He became a shadow of himself, always crying and doing things to remind Mma of the love that they once shared, but all that he did failed as Mma continued to call Nkechi the love of her life. Uchenna was so heartbroken. His eyes were always red from crying as he barely slept, and through it all, her friend Amara never left. She stayed by her friend, caring for her, cooking and even cleaning up after her. Amara held Mma each time she screamed into the night, and every time Uchenna felt like collapsing, Amara would always pat his shoulder and comfort him that everything would be fine. "Don't worry, Uche, we'll get through it. Your wife will be back," she said to him repeatedly as she became the rock in their home. Uchenna was grateful that his wife had a friend like her. In fact, he told her one evening, "God will bless you, Amara. I don't know what I would have done without you." And Amara smiled and reminded him that Mma was like a sister to her. In fact, she owed her life to her after Mma paid for her mother's surgery so many years ago, a surgery that saved her mother's life. So Amara was so grateful to help. One night, however, whilst Amara was in the kitchen preparing food for them to eat, Uchenna, desperate to get his wife back, began to look for a photo of them, a picture taken on their wedding anniversary in front of a waterfall in Nsukka. He believed it might trigger something in her, remind her of who she truly loved. So he searched the bedroom, the wardrobe, the drawers, but found nothing. Uchenna, desperate to find the picture, went into the living room, checking under the couch, cushions, behind the curtains, on top of the shelf. In the process, he accidentally knocked over Amara's handbag, which was resting on the edge of the sofa. The bag fell to the floor as things tumbled out: lipstick, compact powder, a pen and even keys. And then something else rolled out, something wrapped tightly in a red cloth, small like a stick, carved in the form of a woman. Uchenna froze. His heart slammed against his chest as he slowly bent down and picked it up. His breath left his body as his hands began to shake in terror. "Jesus Christ!" he whispered as a scream tore through the house like fire. "Ah! My body! My body is burning!" Uchenna's head jerked upward as he dropped the fetish item in terror. Amara stumbled out of the kitchen, her hands scratching at her skin like something was crawling all over her body. "Ah! I'm burning! Uchenna, help! Help me! I'm on fire! Fire!" She rolled on the floor, kicking, screaming, tearing at her clothes as Uchenna looked at her stunned as he asked her what was happening. He pointed to the red cloth on the floor, asking what it was, as Amara opened her mouth and began to confess. Bit by bit, tear by tear, word by word, she revealed to Uchenna that she did it. Uchenna's knees nearly gave out to realize that the enemy was right there all along. He watched as Amara confessed why she did what she did. "I was so envious of her, Uche. Envious of the way you love her. I have never had that kind of love in my life. Men use me, abandon me, forget me. But you, she pointed at him with trembling fingers. You love Uma like she's the only woman in this world. And every time I watched it, every time I saw her smile because of you, something inside me broke. Her voice rose into a bitter cry as she continued to speak. I wanted her life. I wanted her happiness. I wanted you to look at me the way you look at her, even if it's just once. So I did the charm to make her fall in love with Nkechi, so as to divert all forms of attention from me. Then I planned to give you a love potion, but since your wife lost her mind, you refused to eat my food, frustrating all my efforts. All the pastors I invited into your home were fake. That was why Uma never received her healing. Just then, Uma walked into the living room, clear-eyed, fully conscious, as her mind had finally been restored. She heard every word Amara had said. Her face crumbled in disbelief as tears gathered in her eyes. Amara, you? She whispered, her voice trembling like a wounded child. The friend I called my sister, the woman I trusted with all of my heart? You did this to me? Amara froze on the floor, still scratching her burning skin, still wailing, her face contorted with pain and shame. Ma, please forgive me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Enough! Uma's voice cracked like thunder as she told Amara that she had forgiven her. However, we can't remain friends, she said as she ordered Amara out of her house and warned her to stay away from them. Amara tried to crawl towards her, but the burning sensation intensified, consuming her like invisible flames. She staggered out of the house, screaming, tearing at her hair as neighbors watched in horror. And before nightfall, word spread through Enugu like wildfire that Amara had run mad, wandering the streets barefoot, muttering Uma's name, her body still reacting to the very charm she created. Amara lived the rest of her life as a mad woman, punished by the same darkness she once unleashed. Uchenna was so happy to have his wife back. He showered her with so much love and promised to protect her with all that he got. Days later, they went in search of Nkechi and found her in an apartment in town. They narrated all that happened to her and apologized to her for wrongfully accusing her. Nkechi cried out in pain, her heart softening as she decided to forgive them. However, she did not go back to their house as everything that happened led her to her destiny, as she recently landed her dream job, which not only had a good pay but also an apartment. The lesson to be learned from this story is that not every enemy comes with frowns and bitterness. Sometimes the true danger wears a smile and smiles to your face. Man Uchenna realized that love should never make you blind to danger, and kindness should never erase discernment, and sometimes the disappointments that break your heart can one day turn out to be what sends you to your blessing. So never beat yourself up when things get out of control. Instead, pray and hand everything over to God. Last but not least, always treat people with kindness and do not be envious of others, as envy breeds bitterness. I hope